Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Angela Braniff, and today I'm coming at y'all with the part 2 to the homeschool Q&A. So recently I asked y'all on Instagram if you had homeschooling questions. I know that so many of us are preparing for back to school, and that's looking very different for a lot of people this year. For some of us who have always homeschooled, it's just sort of same old in some ways. But for many people, there's lots and lots of people who are joining homeschool this year for the first time. Some by choice and some by feeling like with everything going on with the virus that this is just the only option for them or the best option for them at this time. There are also lots of parents who are getting ready to do virtual school at home. There's lots of different things happening right now with the school and how school is happening. As y'all know, August is my back to school month. I try to create a lot of homeschool content on here in August. I'm also going to be doing our back to school week. That is a solid week where we will be doing a video every day and a giveaway in every video. I will try to leave the information down in the description box for letting you guys know the details of when that's coming. I don't know the dates off the top of my head. I can't remember, but I'm going to be doing the back to school week as well this month. And then if you missed my video earlier this week, myself and two of my friends here from YouTube, Lisa from Farmhouse Full and Dawn from The Minimal Mom, have started a homeschool community membership group. It is something I've wanted to do forever, but have never really felt totally comfortable feeling like I could make it very robust all on my own. So when the opportunity arose for the three of us to do this together, I think it was just like a no-brainer. It felt right. And so we've been so excited. It has been so wonderful getting to know you guys in this group. Those of you who've already joined, seriously, we've got so many different types of homeschooling families in this group, all different scenarios. New homeschoolers, veteran homeschoolers, people who've been doing this for 10, 12 years, people who just is their first year that they're starting. It's such an incredible community and I am so thrilled. So if you're interested in joining the community, I will leave all the information down below in the description box. We are limiting enrollment, so I will leave everything down there if you guys want to go check it out and join us. If you're looking for some support, some encouragement. I see it as just like a refuge for those of us who are trying to juggle a lot of these things. And for many people, it's totally new. And for others, it's just needing and wanting the support and the ideas and all of that. So it's just a wonderful place. And I hope to see you there if you are interested in joining our group. I get this question a lot about homeschooling preschoolers. And this question specifically says, do you homeschool 2 to 3-year-olds? I personally do not. I know a lot of families that do. I know a lot of families that use different preschool curriculum. 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. She has some amazing different preschool printables and things that you can utilize, curriculums and stuff. I did try those things with my oldest when they were younger. And I just quickly found that it was creating more stress on me, and it was also kind of creating this weird dynamic with me and my toddlers where I don't know, I think I was trying too hard to be a teacher instead of just being their mom and teaching them as we go through life. I think that if you make learning part of your lifestyle, then it's not as necessary to feel like you need a preschool curriculum to do ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, all of that kind of stuff. Everybody's different though. So I never want to say that when somebody feel like it's their burning desire is to set up a cute little room and do a cute little preschool with their 3-year-old at home. If you want to do that, more power to you. It's just not how we do things. So that's my not so short answer to that question. What's been the most challenging part and how have you overcome it? Hands down, the most challenging part of homeschooling is not comparing my children to other people's children, and that I am able to separate what I see other people doing or what I see other people's kids this age doing, and really just embrace my kids for who they are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and realize that my job as a homeschooling mom is not to be a teacher necessarily. Hear me out, okay? Yes, there's a lot of teaching that is involved, but it's really sort of like a guide, like a Sherpa, if you will, right? I'm just the guide. I'm taking them along this journey of learning. I'm teaching them how to learn. I'm teaching them how to find information they need to find, how to retain information, how to memorize something. I'm teaching them practical things, practical tips and tools for learning, but they are cracking the door open of knowledge, if you will. They are really diving into the different things that they are wanting to learn about or needing to learn about, etc. So really wrapping my head around that instead of trying to see myself as a traditional school teacher at home has just revolutionized my own journey through homeschooling by seeing my role a little differently. How to avoid burnout for moms and kids. Take breaks when you need them. When you really feel yourself getting to that point of burnout, take a break. It's part of the reason that I love year-round homeschooling is that we can, if it's like something comes up in life where it's just like, it hits the fan, you know, and it's just crazy with other things, you can hit pause on homeschooling for a week. You can hit pause on homeschooling for 2 weeks until you have pulled yourself back together, taken care of whatever life circumstances going on, and then refocus. And same thing with your kids. I mean, just as you get overwhelmed and burnout, they do too. How do you keep them calm while homeschooling? How do you keep them focused? So a big thing about keeping kids calm and focused, as to me, is not asking them to do more than they are truly capable of, and asking them to sit still longer than is necessary. A lot of times people are trying to recreate a classroom environment at home, and that can very much lead to a lot of these problems with kids not wanting and not able, not just not wanting, but not able to stay focused, not able to sit still. So I try really hard to give my kids time in the morning to get the wiggles out, and then also breaks, short breaks, but often. And then we don't homeschool all day long. We try to keep everything as condensed as possible because especially with younger kids, their attention spans are shorter. Some of my kids are more energetic, let's say, than others. And so they can really only do things in small bursts before they get really bored and can't really pay attention anymore. And recognizing that that's not even in many cases a choice they're making. They physically cannot continue to pay attention because of their attention span. So I think being really, really realistic, keeping lessons and things like that as short as possible, and being really realistic about your sticking points. What are must-dos, what are must-complete things, and what are optional things, what are, you know, things that you might be able to let go of if you need to one day because the kids just aren't paying attention, you know? Lots and lots of questions about managing multiple grades at once. So one of the ways that we handle this is that we do group subjects. We do group subjects for as many subjects as makes sense. So history, science, Bible, art, our looping basket stuff, all of that kind of stuff are different units. Those are all group-based things. So we are doing all of those together from 3rd grade up. I've said this before, I don't require participation. This is a personal choice. I don't require participation in history, science, any of that stuff until 3rd grade. You are absolutely welcome to join us and encouraged to join us. If you do not want to, you do not have to, because we don't start in our state. Now every state's different, but in our state, we don't start testing until 3rd grade. So that is when, for us, we start requiring more from you. It feels like a good age, a good maturity level to start requiring more. Forcing a kindergartner to sit and listen to me talk about the Declaration of Independence or the Revolutionary War, they are likely not going to retain much of anything of that. Some kids may. Again, this is where you kind of have to know your kids. You might have a child that is very interested in these topics, but that's where the element of choice comes in, right? They can sit and choose if they want to listen and participate, but I'm not forcing that. So that is part of how I do multiple grades, is that we have our group subjects that everyone does together, and then we break apart for independent subjects. So if you have older children, depending on the grade levels, there's absolutely should be things that they are doing independently that they don't need you for. They might have questions, but if they can read the worksheet, if they're doing, for example, like teaching textbooks, the lesson is on the computer and audio. So they're getting the lesson online, and then really your job is just to be there to fill in any questions they might have. So maybe while your third or fourth, fifth grader is doing teaching textbooks math, you can be doing hands-on teaching with your kindergartner or first grader who maybe can't read yet, so they can't do the lessons on their own because you need to read it to them. So you do have to kind of figure out that flow, and coming up with a plan, looking at everything and coming up with a plan is definitely helpful. But what I would say is make sure that plan is flexible, because as you get going, you may find that it doesn't work for some reason. Something else would work better. And you kind of figure that out as you go and as you see how your kids are doing in different subjects and who needs more help in what subjects and that sort of thing. And there are times where our kids have to wait. We try to always have something around that they can do if they are having to wait. So whether that's their independent reading or a coloring page or whatever it is, if they're having to wait for myself or my husband for help, we try to have that as an option as well. But yeah, it is kind of like a puzzle that you have to put together. But I think that one of the most beneficial things you can do is to use some kind of unit-based curriculum for a lot of those other subjects, and then keep some of the math, English, things like that are going to be very grade specific just to those kids. Hopefully that's somewhat helpful in how I do multiple grade levels. And I will be doing this school year, I'm going to be doing some Homeschool with Me videos. I've done a couple already, so I will leave those linked down below. But I will do my best to try to, it's always hard to juggle all of that and film it in a way that's helpful, because I could just set the camera up in the corner, but that's not really helpful without moving it around and kind of showing you different things. So I'm going to have my best effort to film a little bit more this year with some of our homeschool days and things like that. Tips for working parents. I got quite a few questions about that. I would say to try to block schedule as best as possible. This is hard to answer because I don't know what your work schedule is. I don't know if you are working outside the home, inside the home, or what that is. Because I am a working parent, the way that I do it is in blocks. So I have this, block early in the morning where I can work, then this block of morning to lunch where we homeschool, and then depending on what my workload is like, I might have another little block of homeschool in the afternoon, and then the rest of that is the rest of that day. So maybe like 2 to 6 is work. So I kind of have to block things off. I have to really give myself very focused hours of time and not try to do both at the same time. Like not try to be on my phone answering emails while I'm helping someone with math. I cannot do that. I have to shut off the work brain Angie and go to the mom brain Angie, and vice versa. How did you, or how can I choose the method type of homeschooling? I'm between Charlotte Mason and traditional. So I would say that first, just what really appeals to you when you look at the different methods of homeschooling and the different types of curriculum. What really pulls you in? Because if you are excited about what you are teaching and how you are doing this, it's going to rub off on your kids. So I would start there, but then also you've got to take into account how your kids learn. If a traditional style of schooling is just not in your kids' wheelhouse, then I would definitely go with some kind of like Charlotte Mason style or more eclectic style homeschool. I think that a lot of times you're going to get like boots on the ground. You're going to get in there, you're going to start doing things, and it's going to help you see what works best for you and what works best for your kids. That's how it was for me. I tried a lot more of a traditional classical type education in the beginning, and I just found that not only was it not for my kids, but it wasn't for me either. And it sucked a lot of the joy out of homeschooling for me, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. So if you don't have to do that to yourself, I would highly advise it. And I also wished I would have acknowledged that and course corrected sooner than I did. It took me a lot of years of being kind of miserable before I really found my groove. Hold on. Hello.
Hi. throwing the kids in the car. I was going to go up to Starbucks to see if you wanted anything.
You can always interrupt me if you're coming with a dirty chai. This one is a great question. How do you get through teaching a subject that you struggle with even as an adult? Okay, this is something that I think is a very common misconception, is that people think that if you're going to homeschool your kids, it must mean that you must know everything about everything. It's probably not possible unless you're some kind of savant or genius. Like I said earlier, if you are sort of teaching your kids how to learn, then what you're doing is guiding them to where to find the answers. So let's just say, for example, you are terrible at math and it's time for your kid to do algebra and you don't remember, or you're not, just like algebra was like stick a pencil in your neck, like you just couldn't stand algebra. The wonderful part is that there are tons of online resources for help. One of my favorites that I always recommend is Khan Academy. It's free, and there are so many different lessons and things from professors in those different areas where you and your child together, you can sit down with them and watch the video about the basics of algebra. And then of course, remember too that you likely know someone in your life who is really good at said subject. So it might be worth reaching out to a brother, a sister, a father-in-law, or someone who's really great at math and saying, hey, listen, Cooper is struggling in algebra. I'm not so great at it. Would you mind helping? Because often just a simple 1 or 2 tutoring lessons from a family member or a friend can be very, very helpful to sort of set that on the right course for your child. And of course, there is always the option to hire a actual tutor. Guys, there are tons and tons and tons of teachers who tutor outside of school, because we all know that our lovely and wonderful teachers get paid. And so many of them tutor outside of teaching. So that is another option as well. It's not crazy expensive usually. So there's options there as well to get some help. So there's so much to be found online in terms of help, reaching out to people within your community of family and friends who might be able to help in that particular area, and then hiring professional help if you get to that place where that's really what you need. We're gonna end on this question because, well, it's the reality. How do you keep your toddlers from destroying your house while you're homeschooling? Friends, you sometimes don't, okay? So you can set up all kinds of parameters and things like that, but we all know that from time to time, the wheels are gonna come off. Accepting that there's going to be some level of chaos from time to time, that's just going to happen. I think it's almost the lie of Instagram and Pinterest is that homeschool moms are just like looking pulled together and beautiful every day and making homemade bread and reading and listening to classical music. That can be some days, but some days people are flushing things down the toilet that they shouldn't be, or running outside naked. We've all had those days. For toddlers, I highly, highly, highly recommend, I don't know what they call them, like tinker bins kind of a thing. So we have plastic little like Rubbermaid boxes that have certain toys in them, separated by kind, and they are put away. So they only come out when we're doing school, when they are requested. They're not out and available for the kids to play with all the time. So I will try to include my toddlers in different things. If my kids are all doing an art project, I'm gonna plop my toddlers down with a piece of paper and some do-a-dots, those little stamping paints, maybe one of those watercolor pads. I have a video on here about my toddler favorites, so you can find a lot of the things that I like to use to distract my toddlers. I try to include them where I can, which isn't often, right? I mean, they're not gonna sit and do a history lesson with us, but I try to bring out toys that are good distractions for them, things that they're not having access to play with all the time. And then of course, if there's really something, if you really need time, I hate saying TV because I know some people are so against it, but there is always the option of giving 30 minutes of TV if you just really need 30 minutes of instruction. But if your toddlers are anything like mine, one of mine in particular, 30 minutes of TV is not, she'll sit down for about 3 minutes and then she's up and gone. So just getting really creative with finding things for them to do, but then also accepting and not beating yourself up for the fact that it might be a little bit chaotic at times and they might make messes, and it really stinks to have to clean up messes that if you were just like hovering over them, you might not have to. But again, it's kind of a give and take on all of these different things. So there are lots also of Instagram accounts with, like, the Busy Toddler, I think, is one of my favorite accounts for ideas. This lady is like crazy creative. She thinks of things that I'm like, mind blown. Like, I never even thought of doing that with my toddler, and it's so genius. And she's never lacking for ideas. So you could probably try something different every single day if you really wanted to. But I will say that kids also do eventually get into a routine of understanding what's happening. When it's all new, it's sort of like everyone's just trying to figure out their place in this world, in this space, and what's going on. Eventually, your younger kids will learn what's going on, and that mom is busy doing this or that, and they just kind of grow accustomed to the lifestyle. It does take time though, so give yourself lots of grace and lots of patience as you and your children, and not just give it to yourself, but give it to your kiddos too. All of them, whether they are in the 8th grade or 1st grade, give them lots of grace and patience, especially if you guys are all new to homeschooling. It can be a lot to take in, especially if they've been to public school before, and this is all new for everybody, and you're stressed and working and all that. Just lots of grace abounding for everybody would be my #1 recommendation. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the Q&A. Don't forget to join our homeschool community. I have my own little bits of wisdom to share, but man, are there some incredible moms out there who could probably give you 10 times more information than I can. I really love our community group, and I hope to see you there. That's it for today though, guys, and I will see y'all again very soon. Bye.